Right, so in this video, we're going to be talking about YouTubers. Sorry, I mean content creators. Sorry, I mean to say resellers who use YouTube as a way to promote their online stores. Now, I do want to preference there is a difference between a reseller and a game store. I'm going to talk about that in this video and why I don't like these resellers who make these YouTube videos, who just kind of spend their time making these clickbaity videos like, oh, I bought every Donkey Kong game or I bought every Pokemon game. And they basically just kind of push the market price up. So let's start with the obvious fact. Some of these notable guys, for example, I'm going to put some of the logos up here, Phoenix Resale, who now also goes by Quickflips, which is his video game store. And also you got Chase Off the Right Price. These guys are kind of like the main ones people talk about. Realistically, these guys are also the most annoying. These guys act like they're your friend, and the way you see how they format their videos is kind of annoying. For example, if you compare their videos where they go to game stores, for example, and obviously they're buying up all these games, all these great games and stuff that people love. They're taking stuff to trade into those stores to obviously get store credit. And they just take a bunch of junk games that nobody really cares about. Like games that maybe we all played when we was all kids, but games that no one really cares about now and has no nostalgia for. For example, you'll see them go after the Mario games, the Pokemon, Zelda, all the stuff that's really worth, the extra premium. And also, that's also another thing they will do. They will flip these games on their stores for a massive premium and just sort of inflate their numbers massively. Now, obviously, I'm in the UK, and the resellers in the UK, obviously, they use a store called CEX as obviously their way of obviously warranting how much they charge for certain things, obviously, because that's like sort of the baseline tier as well, the price, because that's obviously their national chain. But when it comes to resellers in general, a lot of these guys I've noticed have started popping up on YouTube. They do like charity shop videos. They do game store videos. They go to these game stores and whatever, and they make it seem like they're giving these guys such a good deal. They speak to the store owners like, oh, how hard has it been a game store, owner and stuff, and they make it sound as if like being a game store owner is the worst. And they go then they go and open a game store. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, come on, guys. If owning a game store is really that bad, why are you buying from a game store to then open a game store? It makes no sense. And you see these guys, they talk about like, oh, we're part of the reseller community. There is no reseller community. Let me tell you something. There are resellers who will work together to do these like collabs on videos and stuff. But at the end of the day, they're in it for themselves. So if they can make a couple extra bucks by buying another load of games from someone else and flipping it for more, they will. So if, for example, Phoenix Resale and Chase Off the Right Price are in a room together, they've just like, gone to a game convention, bought all this really great stuff, like $1,000, and they've got all this great stuff that's worth $2,000, but they've only paid $1,000 for it each. I mean, they're doing all right, aren't they? But then, Chase starts seeing some of the stuff that Phoenix has, and Phoenix starts seeing some of the stuff Chase has, and they start like fighting over, obviously, who's got the better stuff, and obviously they're trying to like outdo each other with the prices and stuff, and eventually you get a thing where there's going to be either an argument or a fight, and realistically, that's the way these resellers, their friendships and that will end, because obviously these guys are always trying to outdo each other, get the most valuable stuff. And at the end of the day, video games are not investments. I'm sick of seeing YouTubers and resellers and all these people talk to you as if buying Pokemon games is going to, save your kids' funds for college. It's not how it works, And really, if you guys are really concerned about, buying games as an investment for your future, have you not heard of like stocks and shares ISAs, real estate investment trusts? Have you not heard of like buying government issued bonds? Like, are you really thinking that you are going to earn more money from a Pokemon game than a monthly recurring, revenue from a bond or, real estate investment trust, something like that? Because this whole mentality that video games are investments really annoys me, because yes, they are investments by the company who actually makes the games. But when it comes down to the people who actually buy the games, yes, it's also an investment. But then you also come, because obviously you invest in your time and your money into it. But then when you get down to people that just keep reselling them, it's like, why is this suddenly a big deal? Why are you making your whole like career of being like, oh, this game's worth $200 on the market. I'm selling it for $350. Okay. Why? Why are you selling it for that much? Like, I know you have to make a profit, but some of these guys, their whole business is making profit, and they're not even trying to make their prices anywhere near reasonable. You look at any video about Phoenix Resale and you see how overpriced his consoles are, and it's like, bro, how do you run a game store But you've marked everything up by like 50%. How do you even function as a business? And then obviously the way these guys compare themselves to game store owners, and they're like, oh, well, we're like game store owners. Game store owners are resellers too. Game store owners don't really hate resellers. I think a lot of them do, but they just, when you go in there with a camera, put the camera in the guy's face and start talking to the guy, and you're threatening, oh, I'm going to buy all this cool stuff off this guy and whatever, you know, and then you take that stuff and you take it to your eBay store or your Whatnot store, which, for God's sake, Whatnot, I hate Whatnot. Whatnot is just a terrible platform. It's got some of the scummiest people on it. And realistically, what you see with these guys is to go to the game stores, give them a bunch of garbage games that nobody wants to buy, get us in-store credit. So they don't even pay cash for a lot of the stuff they're actually buying, or they could get in credit. And then you also look at what they actually do, because they do this, and then obviously they mark the price up by 50%. They take all the good games from these stores, which I understand. Obviously, you know, when you're game collecting, you want to get the best stuff. I understand that, but there's a difference between being a collector and being a reseller. If you collect, like, for example, if you look at my collection, for example, I spent a lot of money buying games, making videos about the games, and actually trying to make time with the experience. I think I have too many, to be honest. I have over 600 games in my collection. But the difference between a collector is someone who actually has the intention to play the games, and actually enjoys owning them, and actually wants to experience them. And also, when you look at someone like Phoenix Resale, and you realize that one time he scammed his entire fan base by getting them to send him GameCube games, and then he sold most of the GameCube games like a week later. Like, you really trust in these guys? Like, these guys obviously, they're just sort of knobheads, mate. They're just like the most, excuse my French, but they're like sort of the scum of YouTube, because their whole business is obviously they get the ad revenue from YouTube, watchers. They get the Patreons. So they all have Patreons for some reason, and they all have like online stores of Amazon, Whatnot, eBay. They have, obviously, in the case of Phoenix Resale, he has obviously his own game store. It's just kind of annoying, because these guys, they don't actually add any value to it as well, and they talk as if they are doing us all a favour. They're doing us a favour by taking these games and inflating the prices, and they really are not. Like, I know people in the UK, for example, criticise our big, you know, national chain CEX for doing the same thing, obviously inflating game prices in certain regards. But then you go in there, and quite a lot of games aren't that overly priced. Like, yeah, some of the rarer stuff that didn't sell as well, or like some of the stuff that is in high demand is, but a lot of games you get from CEX aren't actually that overpriced. But compared to, you know, Phoenix Resale and, you know, Chase Off the Right Price, these guys are making videos where they're like buying every Donkey Kong game or buying every Pokemon game, which are high value, you know, games for a lot of people. These are games people grew up with. These are games people want to re-experience. These are games people want to see re-released. So when I saw like Fire Red and Leaf Green get re-released on the eShop, I heard some people complaining on like social media, oh no, now my game's worth less. Okay, what's the big deal? Like, this is also why, you know, game preservation is such a big deal as well, because if we had these games on modern platforms, these resellers and stuff wouldn't really exist. They wouldn't be able to thrive as much as they do. And really, it's just a scummy practice, because why would you price gouge people that want to actually experience these things, you know? And going through like these guys' videos, like they're like 20 minutes, 30 minutes long, and they're just garbage, man. Like, I know you got to get run for ad revenue, but like Phoenix Resale, like he doesn't even upload on his main channel anymore. He posts it all on his second channel, Quickflips, trying to convince people he's a gamer and he's for the gamers. But let's be honest, if you were for the gamers, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. You wouldn't be charging the prices you're doing. You wouldn't be making videos like, oh, I'm collecting all these like Pokemon games, and then, you know, you sell them for like massive markups on Whatnot or eBay or whatever you do. And, you know, it's just kind of annoying, because these guys are now setting a precedent for other people to go to yard sales, go to charity shops, thrift stores, whatever you call them, go to game stores, basically get all their good stuff and then flip them online for massive increases. And it's just really annoying, because, you know, someone who obviously enjoys game collecting and enjoys finding new games and exploring games and finding stuff that I've never even knew existed, it's kind of disheartening, because now many people can't get into the hobby because of these resellers who obviously inflated the prices of so many great games and games that people would want to play or want to collect or want to, you know, re-experience or even just try out. And really, there's no real way to deal with it, and besides emulation. And obviously emulation, you know, it depends on how good you are actually getting all set up and whatever, and getting the ROMs, and, you know, if actually finding a ROM that hasn't been taken down, good luck. But really, these guys just annoy me, and it genuinely just gets on my nerves. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like these guys? Do you watch any of these creators? Do you actually watch these resellers, because I don't think these guys are even content creators at this point. They're just scum who try to make advertisements for their stores. That's all they do, is advertise their own stores and their own, you know, live streams and stuff. And some of them don't even appear in their own videos. So there is that. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Do you like these guys? Do you not? Let me know. I've been EC, and I'm signing out. Peace.